So Raw Egg Nationalist is maybe someone you haven't heard of, quite well known online, very smart, writes anonymously, often at the American Mind, and certainly on Twitter. He is the leader of a movement that's looking outside the mainstream for ways to get healthy. We spoke to him for our new Tucker Carlson Originals documentary, The End of Men. Here's part of the conversation. If the bro scientists have a spiritual leader, it would be a man who calls himself Raw Egg National. Here's his message.
The enemy today is what I like to call soy globalism. The globalist aim is to destroy nations and local communities, and they do this by isolating communities and sickening them through food, and also through so-called medicine, and all the dreadful chemicals we're exposed to on a daily basis. The globalists want you to be fat, sick, depressed, and isolated. The better to control you and to milk you for as much economic value as they can before they kill you. That's soy globalism in a nutshell. Own nothing, live in the pod, eat the soy. The best response to this is a strong politics of nationalism. The nation is only as strong as the individuals who make it up, and that's where raw eggs come in. Eggs are a superfood, packed with protein, fats, vitamins, minerals, and anabolic cholesterol, the absolute opposite of the disgusting rubbish that the globalists want you to eat. Eggs are cheap, can't patent an egg. By making the individual strong, you make the nation strong. I'm a Raw Egg Nationalist. I'm an anon right-wing bodybuilder, and I dispense red pill fitness and health information to the masses. Why should somebody believe me? Well, I'm just channeling the wisdom of the ancients, really. I'm a vessel. Raw eggs were once upon a time an essential part of the bodybuilder's diet, and that was due to a man called Vince Gironda, who was a bodybuilding maverick. Vince Gironda advocated consuming large quantities of raw eggs as an alternative to taking steroids. He did a lot of scientific research, and he was aware of that burns victims once upon a time were treated with a daily dose of 36 eggs, mainly raw. Burns victims would later be given anabolic steroids instead of this egg diet. It's the cholesterol, above all, in the eggs that has an anabolic effect, like steroids.
We're honored to have Raw Egg Nationalist on the show now. He joins us anonymously. Raw Egg Nationalist, thanks so much for coming on. Why is it, so your position, as articulated in the tape we just played, is it's better to be strong and healthy than to be weak and unhealthy. Why is that so threatening to the people in charge?
Well, thanks for having me, Tucker. I think it's threatening for a number of different reasons, and one of them, at least, is because illness is big business.
What are you trying to do with your books? Like, what is the crisis you are trying to address? What are people doing wrong with what they eat and with their day-to-day health?
Well, I suppose really, my principal target is the crisis of masculinity, which is getting a lot of or increasing publicity at the moment. There's a Tucker Carlson documentary that I'm in that's coming out tomorrow, The End of Men, which is precisely about the crisis of masculinity, which is, yes, as I say, is what I'm principally addressing. I mean, my message is for both sexes, I would say, but principally what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people to take control of their diets and health as a means of ensuring their physical and mental sovereignty as well. So the two things are inextricably linked. You can't separate mental from physical health, like some people seem to believe or would have you believe. So the first step is to take control of what you put in your body. And that's something that I've been trying to do with my cookbook, which provides all sorts of healthy recipes, many of which involve eggs, and everything else I write about is broadly on that theme, I would say.
Yeah, you can't really do anything about the world around you if you're not feeling up for it. You have to first have that inner drive and that inner fire, which is driven by personal health. Even just being able to get out of bed in the morning is driven by your sleep cycle, what you're eating, all of these things. Probably one of the most important questions I have during this interview is, what makes any of this political?
Well, That's a good question. I think everything about this makes it political. I think that we live in a regime where people are encouraged to be, or suffer under a regime that encourages people to be dependent, not to take control of their lives. I mean, we've already talked about the medical regime that encourages people to take pills for their problems rather than proactively to address the root causes of their problems. I don't think that I don't think that the people in control want ordinary people to be fit and healthy. And I mean, that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but I think it's true. I think it's true. I think that governments foster dependency. They foster weakness. Weakness is praised. So to take control of your life now, to take control of what you put in your body, has become a revolutionary act, I think. And nowhere is that clearer, I think, than in the blueprint for the Great Reset, which is what my new book is about. You know, the Great Reset is predicated on a total transformation of the food we're going to eat. We've all heard the phrase, we've all heard the catchphrases: "You will eat the bugs," you know, "You'll live in the pod," all that kind of stuff. But actually, there's a much more fundamental food transformation at work underlying the Great Reset that involves principally a transition to a plant-based diet, a global plant-based diet for the first time ever. That's what the globalists want. They want to do away with animal agriculture, but not really for any ethical reasons. As I go into in the book, what they want to consolidate corporate control of the food system. And that is one of the principal problems with the food system today, is that so much of it is controlled by huge corporations whose interests are very, very different from those of ordinary people. But what the globalists want to do is they want to consolidate that. They want to make it basically complete corporate control of the food supply. In the name of feeding a global population of 10 billion in 2050, and of course preventing the earth from heating up and catching on fire. But yes, that's what they want to do. They want to control people by controlling what they eat. So as I say, what you eat is of immense political importance, I think.
I can't believe I forgot to ask this. Does ball tanning work? I think that's probably the biggest question people have looking at Tucker Carlson's new trailer. What is up with this ball tanning? Just quick 1 minute TLDR.
Okay, sure. So there was a study done in the 1930s which showed that that sunlight exposure on different parts of the body stimulated testosterone production by varying amounts, and that sunlight exposure to the testicles stimulated the most testosterone production, something like 200% testosterone increase. So that's basically what the ball tanning thing is about. It's about exposing the Leydig cells in the testicles, which produce testosterone, to particular frequencies of light, which basically energize the cells, and the idea is make them stimulate more testosterone production. And there's this study that I just talked about. Anecdotally, people seem to feel good about it. I mean, it does seem to feel good. There's now an equivalent for women where they sun their perineums and that area down there as well. You see that on Instagram, fitness Instagram, health Instagram as well. So it's definitely taking off, and people definitely seem to think that it feels nice.
Awesome. All right. Well, ladies, get off that birth control, and boys, get to your ball tanning. Thank you so much, Ren, for this interview. It was an absolute pleasure. Really important stuff. And I'm looking forward to watching Tucker's documentary tomorrow.